All right. First and foremost, I want to start off by saying Barakatha Yahweh, Barakatha Yahweh Shai, Barakatha Yahweh, Barakatha Yahweh Shai, Barakatha Yahweh, Barakatha Yahweh Shai, Call Halal Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakah Kwadash. Shalom to you sincere Akim out there listening, learning, and pushing this truth. And shalom to the few sincere Akwath that are out there listening and learning as well. With that being said, Adawan Ratazah, this will be edifying. As usual, I'm going to go into Rakah Kwadash. And I saw this, it's a real short, like 2 minutes. It's from Bloomberg. I was watching this and I had to speak on it, had to do a lesson. A bunch of precepts were in my mind, or just had to put it on wax. As you can see, it says Powell, which is Jerome Powell, says Fed independence is a matter of law. Federal Reserve Jerome Powell says the central bank will never be influenced by any political pressure. Quotation marks, our independence is a matter of law. Powell said when asked about political threats to his position. He speaks at the Economic Club of Chicago. So I saw that, and I'm gonna read a little bit of the transcript. I'm gonna leave the link for this video in the description. I don't want to get copyright. But I had to put it on wax. The first thing that two things primarily came to mind. Elder Malcolm always says, what does he call them? Unelected official leaders. They're unelected. Prime example, Jerome Powell. Unelected official leaders. He always says, who elected this guy? Where the fuck did he come from? Excuse my French. Where did he come from? Who put him in power? And we know the answer to that. The elites put him in power. He doesn't answer to the laws of this land. Okay? The Federal Reserve operates outside of the law. They don't have any allegedly any political alliances. They don't answer to the red party or the blue party. So the question is, who are they answering to? Whose interest do they have at heart? We know for sure it's not the people. Okay? They answer to the elites. They're the ones that set them up. The Rothschilds, the Gettys, the DuPonts, the Vanderbilts, Oppenheimers, Kennedys, so on and so forth, Bushes, the elites, the oligarchs. Okay? So let me read a little bit of the transcript. I'll do the best I can. This is the interviewer. It says, let me turn to the independence. You've reiterated that you intend to stay in office until the end of your term, and that certainly reassured many in financial markets. This is the main question he asked them. What are the levers that the government or the legislature have to pressure the Fed? And this is his response. And they laughed and giggled. These people are complete zombies, man. It says, and should one worry about threats to the Fed's independence once you're gone? So Jerome Powell answers, he says, so our independence is a matter of law. Congress has in our statute, we're not removable except for cause, whatever the hell that means. We serve very long terms, seemingly endless terms. And everybody laughed and giggled, Again, unelected official leaders. It says, Congress has in our statute, we're not removable except for cause. We serve very long terms, seemingly endless terms. So it will protected in the law. So Congress could change that law, but I don't think there's any danger of that. That independence has pretty broad support across both political parties and in both sides of the hill. So I think that's not a problem. There's a Supreme Court case people will have read probably in today's journal, that which the Supreme Court may decide whether independent agencies generally whether their authorizing laws can contain a provision that prevents the president to fire from firing members of a commission or other than for a cause. The main point was made. Again, I'll leave the link in the description. The transcript is not really doing it justice, but the point was made. Just like Elder Malcolm says, they're unelected official leaders, okay, and they operate with complete, what it was the word, immunity. They don't answer to anybody. They can do whatever the hell they want, and they serve endless terms. So again, the main thing that came to mind was what Elder Malcolm said. Unelected official leaders, but of course, the creature from Jekyll Island. If you're not familiar with it, do your own due diligence. I forget who wrote this book. G. Edgar Griffin. He broke it all down. Okay, that's the main thing that was on my mind. I think you can still find it on YouTube. All right, but I'll read a little bit about what it says about the secret meeting of Jekyll Island, which is how the Federal Reserve came about. Elder Apostle Gabar, they always go into it. Well, they sometimes go into it. And we know the Federal Reserve is nothing more than an instrument to facilitate fraud upon the people. Okay? To put heavy usury on the people, heavy debt, ibatyat, transfer wealth. It's an instrument of fraud. Okay? So this is from the AI overview about the secret meeting at Jekyll Island. In November 1910, a secret meeting took place on Jekyll Island, Georgia, where 6 powerful figures, including Senator Nelson Aldrich, and I think he was the one that came, it was his idea. And I think they wanted to call it the Aldrich Bill, but it was too obvious. That's why they called it the Federal Reserve, if I'm not mistaken. It says 6 powerful figures, including Senator Nelson Aldrich, and bankers like Henry Davidson and Paul Warburg, drafted the plan for the Federal Reserve System. The meeting was kept under wraps due to concerns about public backlash against a central banking system which was seen as a tool of Wall Street. Here's more details looking at the meeting. Let's see if there's anything pertinent. Secrecy. The meeting was kept secret due to concerns about public perception and the potential for political opposition to a central banking system. Aldrich even instructed the attendees to use first names only to avoid being recognized. Yeah, he said to tell everybody they were going on a hunting trip. You could do your due diligence, but that do your own due diligence, about the Federal Reserve and how it was created and why it was created, and first and foremost, why was it done in secrecy? As they're saying, it would have been public outcry from the people, because back in 1910, the people weren't dumbed down like these Babylonians are now. They had some sort of sense, and they would have understood that was unlawful, and it was being established to implement fraud. I think the Federal Reserve is the one that did away with the gold standard. Okay, so I got a couple precepts and I'll close out. The point's been made. I'll leave a link for that video in the description. But shout out to Elder Malcolm. Shout out to the Elder Apostles, especially Elder Apostle Gabar. Always went into that about the creature from Jekyll Island. That unelected official leaders. And that Federal Reserve System is set up to facilitate fraud, mass fraud upon the people. Okay? And a majority of these nations have some type of Federal Reserve System, some type of central banking system. All these nations pretty much do the same play, man. Defraud their people. They're robbing the people, turning them into perpetual debt slaves. Okay? So this is Psalms 94:20. This was screaming in my mind. Let me get it in the blue letter. I like how I'm reading the KJV and then back in the NLT. It says, "Shall the throne of iniquity have fellowship with thee, which frameth mischief by a law?" That's what he does. Unrighteous decrees. You know? They gather themselves together against the soul of the righteous and condemn the innocent blood. But the Lord Yahweh is my defense, and my power is the rock of my refuge. So I read it in the NLT. Can unjust leaders claim that God, Yahweh, is on their side? Leaders whose decrees permit injustice. They gang up against the righteous and condemn the innocent to death. Again, if the public had known about what was going on, there would have been public outcry. Hence why that whole meeting had to go down in secrecy. And what's the main purpose of the Federal Reserve? To rob the poor, to oppress the poor with heavy weights, heavy pledges, your debt, usury, interest. They gang up against the righteous and condemn the innocent to death. But the Lord Yahweh is my fortress, my power. Yahweh is my mighty rock where I hide. That's the point. So let's get some more precepts, and I'll close out and run through them. Of course, we know Job 9:24. The earth is the whole entire inhabited earth, man. We know right now Esau, Edom, the wicked per Malachi 1:4, the so-called white man, he's in the power seat. All these nations have bowed down to him, you know. But particularly, there's a particular family amongst the Edomites, a particular house among the Edomites that's really in control of everything, which we know those are the Amalekites. Okay, those tunnel diggers, those mole rats, those 1948ers. They're the ones who's truly in control. Going back to the Rothschilds and their underlings, these elite bankers behind the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, the central banking system. Okay? They were chased out of damn near every nation, every country where they went, man. Why? Because they kept facilitating fraud. They're a bunch of robber barons. So it says, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. It's only for a short time, as I'm going to get into. The earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covered the faces of the judges thereof, because we are the true judges. Yasharallah. He put himself up as the judges. It says, if not, where and who is he? Okay? So that's who Jerome Powell answers to. The elites, who's truly in power. Okay? This is Proverbs 22:7, Salakia. Proverbs 22:7, the rich ruleth over the poor, and the borrower is servant to the lender. If you want to make it in this world, in this society, you have to incur some form of debt. You want to advance and you want to get some type of educational advancement, you know, you want to increase your knowledge, you want to go to a school of so-called higher learning, higher thought, you know, to get a so-called good job, you know, you got to get you what? A degree. And in order to get a degree, 9 times out of 10, you can't pay you can't pay that tuition. So you're going to have to get what? A student loan, which is what? The terms of that student loan is what? Innumerous, unrighteous usury, you know, exorbitant debt. You want to get you a house? Guess what? You can't afford that house straight up. Cash money, 9 times out of 10. So you're going to have to get you a mortgage. You're going to have to go to a bank and get what? Enormous debt, usury, loans. You want to get you a car, so on and so forth. You want to start you up a business. Okay, you got to go to the rich. And that's part of the curses. Deuteronomy 28 on down. The curses. We have to go to the enemy in want of all things. What's that? Deuteronomy 26? Or Deuteronomy, I can't remember. 26, having a brain fart. 26 or 28. I can't remember. But that's the curses, man. We got to go to the enemy and the want of all things. I got to go back through that. I haven't gone through that in a minute. Repetition, 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 the father's skill. But anyway, yeah, that's how this world is. Anything you want in this world, you're gonna have to go to the rich. And who are the true rich? These bankers, okay? That control the money printing machine. All they gotta do is turn it on or off. They can manipulate these different currencies. You know, they're the ones who are in control. All right, and you gotta abide by their rules and regulations. Okay, and they're gonna put unjust weights on you, usury. All right. Let's see, James. You already know James 5. Run through it. James 5:1. Go to now, you rich men, weep and howl for your miseries that shall come upon you. Your riches are corrupted, and your garments are moth-eaten. Your gold and silver is cankered, and the rust of them shall be a witness against you, and shall eat your flesh as it were fire. You have heaped treasure together for the last days. Behold, the hire of the laborers who have reaped down your fields, which is of you kept back by fraud. A major tool to help facilitate that fraud is that Federal Reserve System. You're not being paid with true money. You're being paid with debt-bearing notes, fiat money, fiscal, paper money, not real money, And then you got all other types of systems to facilitate the fraud, all exuberant amounts of taxation without representation, It says, and the cries of them which have reaped are entered into the ears of the Lord of Sabaoth, Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, the Lord of armies. You have lived in pleasure on the earth and been wanton. You have nourished your hearts as in the day of slaughter. You have condemned and killed the just, and he doth not resist you. All right? So that's the point. Let's keep going. Job 20, I'll jump around. Job 20:4. Knowest thou not this of old, since man was placed upon the earth, that the triumphant of the wicked, Esau, Edom, the wicked, per Malachi 1:4, is short, and the joy of the hypocrite but for a moment. Though his excellency mount up to the heavens, and his head reach unto the clouds, yet he shall perish forever like his own dung. They which have seen him shall say, where is he? He shall fly away as a dream, and shall not be found. Yea, he shall be chased away as a vision of the night. I might as well keep going. Salakia. Again, allergies, man. Salakia. It says, the eye also which saw him shall see him no more, neither shall his place any more behold him. His children shall seek to please the poor, and his hand shall restore their goods. His bones are full of the sin of his youth, which shall lie down with him in the dust. Though wickedness be sweet in his mouth, he's boldly talking shit, laughing, giggling, because the people are none the wiser. Jerome Powell, Though wickedness be sweet in his mouth, though he hide it under his tongue, though he spare it and forsake it not, but keep it still within his mouth, yet his meat in his bowels is turned, it is the gall of the asp within him. He have swallowed down riches, these elites, man. He have swallowed down riches, and he shall vomit them up again. Yahweh shall cast them out of his belly. He shall suck the poison of asp, the viper's tongue shall slay him. He shall not see the rivers, the floods, the brooks of honey and butter. That which he labored for shall he restore, and shall not swallow it down. He's not going to get, Yahweh Bashim Yahushai is going to upset his enterprise. He disappointeth the devices of the crafty. Soon as he's got his New World Order officially rolled out, and he's sitting back and kicking up his feet and, chillaxing, Yahweh Bashim Yahushai is going to upset him. He going to have to give everything up, and he going to have to go into slavery, for 1,000 years, hardcore bondage. That which he labored for shall he restore, and shall not swallow it down. According to his substance shall the restitution be, and he shall not rejoice therein, because he hath oppressed and hath forsaken the poor. With what? Ibatyat, these heavy weights, these heavy pledges, usury, debt. He's made everybody a debt slave, because he hath violently taken away a house which he builded not. Surely he shall not feel quietness in his belly, he shall not save of that which he desired. I gotta keep going. There shall none of his meat be left, therefore shall no man look for his goods. In the fullness of his sufficiency he shall be in straits, a position of difficulty. Every hand of the wicked shall come upon him. When he is about to fill his belly, Yahweh shall cast the fury of his wrath upon him, and shall rain it upon him while he is eaten. I could keep going, but that's the point. The whole chapter is good. I don't want to make this too long. Proverbs 28:8. He that by usury, that's what this devil is all about, usury. And there's many scriptures against usury. You're not supposed to lend usury to your brother. That's wicked. You're setting your brother up for failure. And they put heavy usury, and you'll be on every side, every which way every time you turn around, you're being slapped with usury, predatory loans, This whole system is predicated upon fraud, robbing the poor, okay? He that by usury and unjust gain increaseth his substance, he shall gather it for him that will pity the poor. He gonna vomit everything up. There's a change of worlds is coming. Esau is the end of the world. Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. Ecclesiasticus 10:8. Because of unrighteous dealings, the Federal Reserve, prime example. Injuries and riches got by deceit. Everything this man has acquired, he's stolen it. He's gotten by the force of the sword. But that goes back to the blessing of Isaac, the fatness of the earth by the sword. He's robbed, he's pillaged, he's defrauded. He's a violent, deceitful, bloody man. Because of unrighteous dealings, injuries, and riches got by deceit, the kingdom is translated from one people to another. There's a change of worlds coming. A righteous ruler is coming, Yahweh Shai HaMashiach, and we're joint heirs with him. So that's the point. I'll close out again with Psalms 94:20, because that's what he said. They're outside of the law, man. They're above the law. They have no allegiance to any parties, man, and they're proud. They're proud. But they're in for a rude awakening. Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai is coming to upset them, to bind their kings with chains of fetter and iron. They're nobles, they're kings. Psalms 94:20. Shall the throne of iniquity have fellowship with thee, which frameth mischief by a law? You see? His unrighteous decrees. All this, everything this man, his crafty enterprise, is all to defraud the people, to cheat the people, And wait till the people fully wake up to what's going on. They're going to lose it. They're going to lash out. Hence why there's going to be sedition in the streets. So Adawan Ratazah, this came together and made sense. Again, I'll leave the link for that short video in the description. Hey, keep watching, keep praying, keep fighting, keep pushing, man. We're close. Shalom. Wa abad babal. Kwam Yasharallah.